Good afternoon from London. It's a dark, dull, and somewhat rainy afternoon with a threat of thunder here in London. And hello to all dear comrades, friends, and supporters from me, Dr. Dermot Hudson, the chairman of the British Group for the Study of the Juche idea, chairman of the Korean Friendship Association of the UK, and official delegate of KFA for the UK, and of course the owner of this very self-same channel, Songam 007, of the militant voice of Songam and Juche here in the UK, defending people's career with no ifs or buts. And we are probably the only 100% pro-DPRK, pro-Juche channel here in the UK. Today, I'm going to speak about the 75th anniversary of the victory in the Taejon Liberation Battle. If you are lucky enough to travel to People's Korea, and I've been there 19 times, and visit the Fatherland Liberation War Museum in Pyongyang, you will notice a circular-shaped building. It is the Taejon diorama, which commemorates the successful Taejon Liberation Battle, which happened during the first part of the Great Victorious Fatherland Liberation War, which is referred to as the Korean War in the West, which was, of course, against the US imperialist aggressors. Usually, visitors are shown the Taejon Liberation Battle diorama towards the end of their visit to the museum. It's quite an experience because you can sit on a moving platform and get a panoramic view of the battle. The Taejon Liberation Battle was 75 years ago on the 20th of July 1950, and by the way, 20th of July is my birthday. I was born 11 years after the Taejon Liberation Battle. Taejon is a city in South Korea. The Korean People's Army in the battle was commanded by Generalissimo Kim Il-sung himself. The South Korean puppets and the US imperialists had provoked the Fatherland Liberation War on the 25th of June 1950, when the South Korean puppet armed forces had intruded into the DPRK by 1 to 2 kilometers after shelling frontline areas of the DPRK from the 23rd of June. The odds were stacked against the young DPRK, which had a population of just under half of that of South Korea. The South Korean puppets had bragged that they would take breakfast at Haju, which is on in the south of the DPRK, lunch in Pyongyang, and supper in Sinaju. And of course, Sinaju is the city on the border with China. However, it turned into a massive rout for the South Korean puppet army, which proved itself to be totally useless in the face of the heroic Korean People's Army, KPA, commanded by Great Generalissimo Kim Il-sung. The KPA, which was based on Juche's self-reliance, went through South Korea like a dose of salts. Seoul, the capital of the hated and decaying South Korean puppet regime, was liberated on the 28th of June, the third day of the war. The KPA advanced rapidly through South Korea, The South Korean puppet army was riven by internal contradictions and virtually collapsed. In fact, most of the South Korean troops in the first part of the war actually ran away or surrendered to the KPA. And, I was told an anecdotal story by someone who'd been a British soldier in Korea during the Fatherland Liberation War, and he said the one thing he never saw was actually South Korean troops. They'd all disappeared. Saw American troops, British troops, Turkish troops, but never South Korean troops. Anyway, the Yankees panicked, realizing they would lose South Korea entirely. Direct US intervention in Korea had begun early in July 1950, though in fact US armed forces had gone into action in Korea on June the 25th when the war had begun. The US 24th Division, headed by General Dean, was rushed to the Korean Peninsula. Now, Dean was an experienced and distinguished American general. During the Second World War, Dean had commanded US troops in Europe fighting battles in France, Germany, and Austria. Dean had been awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the Distinguished Service Medal, the Bronze Star Medal, and the Legion of Merit. The 24th Division that he commanded was said to be an invincible division of the US Army and had fought the Japanese in the Philippines during the Second World War. It was known as the Taro Division, meaning victorious division. The South Korean puppets had made Taejon their temporary capital after the fall of Seoul. Taejon had also been made the headquarters of Dean's 24th US Army Division. It was assumed that the US 24th Division would easily defeat the KPA, a young army that had only been founded 2 years before. In those days, the KPA was fighting on its own without outside assistance. I think this is a very important point that some people ignore. It wasn't actually until October that the Chinese People's Volunteers entered the war. Generalissimo Kim Il-sung applied the Juche-based military tactics he had developed in the anti-Japanese armed struggle which had been waged for 15 years. In those days, the KPA faced the US imperialists and the South Korean puppets. Generalissimo Kim Il-sung ordered the KPA units to encircle the US Army division by making sharp detours. The Americans did not expect the KPA to move as fast as they did. The KPA troops moved like lightning. As the enemy put emphasis on the front and kept the southeastern area open, Generalissimo Kim Il-sung saw to it that the KPA, which had advanced to the southwestern area, manoeuvred back some to the area southeast of Taejon to cut off the retreat of the Americans, thus forming a circle surrounding the city. On the morning of the 20th of July, 1950, Taejon was liberated. General Dean, the commander of the US 24th Division, was captured, trying to escape by a young soldier of the Korean People's Army. Dean, in the Second World War, had commanded US troops which took 30 thousand prisoners. Now Dean himself had ended up being taken prisoner. Dean's General Pips and his boots can still be seen today in the victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum of the DPRK. The KPA, under Generalissimo Kim Il-sung, had turned the tables on the Yankee imperialists. The KPA had killed or captured 24,228 enemy troops. It had taken away 20,000 stands of small arms, destroyed or captured 150 odd cannons, 49 tanks, and some 1,000 armoured cars and motor cars, and shot down or destroyed 32 planes. It was a victory for the KPA and Korean people that they had achieved on their own without the assistance of armed forces of another country. The KPA went on to liberate 90% of the territory of South Korea and 92% of the population. The Taejon Liberation Battle was undoubtedly a victory against overwhelming odds. It was a miracle of modern history due to the original Juche-based tactics of Generalissimo Kim Il-sung, an ever-victorious Iron World brilliant commander and gifted military strategist. Long live the Korean People's Army. Long live People's Korea. Long live self-reliance. Glory to the eternal memory of the great leader, Generalissimo Kim Il-sung. Thank you very much for being with us today and listening to this video. If you're not already a subscriber to the channel Sunken 007, please hit the subscribe button and please share content as much as possible and tell people about the channel. We need more subscribers and more viewers as part of the struggle to defend People's Korea with no ifs or buts. I think it's also very important to support our work through participation at our excellent events. Next Saturday, I will be speaking about the victory in the Fatherland Liberation War and the 80th anniversary of Korea's liberation from Japanese rule. There'll be details on our social media, and we also have an online catch-up meeting for anyone who couldn't travel to London on that day, and for international guests. So I hope to see people at both of those events. And you can read about the Fatherland Liberation War and building of socialism in People's Korea and all kinds of subjects related to People's Korea and Juche in our excellent publications. There'd be a link in the description, and you can also help our work and help it to become more successful by donating money. There'd be a link in the description. So anyway, I wish everybody a great day and see you all again soon. Goodbye now.